hello. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Moment with Moschetti, your mental health and spiritual wellness podcast. I'm your hostesses with the mostesses, your auntie, sister, cousin, best friend, always coming with the realness. Moschetti herself. Where the clap at? Hold on. There you go. I'm coming to you, well, not so live because I'm not live this time. I'm coming to you from the Tone Deaf Network studio podcast here. And I, as you can see, am not spending this moment alone with just you and me. I have a special guest today with me. Her name is Miss Vivian Barkley. Everybody say hi. Oh, where the claps at? Hey, there you go. Welcome. All right, so Miss Vivian here is a content creator, an entrepreneur, a student, a mother, a wonderful young lady with a beautiful story. So today we're going, the title of today's episode is The Journey. So we're going to go on a journey together. We're going to talk a little bit about your life. We're going to talk a little bit about how our lives have crossed. And hopefully it'll be a nice enlightening conversation. So I don't have church announcements for you this week because we're gonna hop right on into the interview. But I will say this, and I'm gonna say this for this guest and for really all the guests that I'm planning on bringing in the future, because this will not be the only person that's gonna spend a moment with me. I don't think she's gonna say nothing too out of pocket, but I do want to say that the views and the opinions of the people who are on the Moment with Moschetti podcast belong to the mouths that it come out of. Because I know you and I share some differing opinions on certain, spiritual spaces and things like that. But when it comes to mental wellness and spiritual wellness, I have a great respect for the people where they are on their paths, where it aligns with my path and where it differs from my path, especially when it brings you to the point of being a healthy and happy individual. So we love that. We respect that. We promote that. We share that. And whatever you get out of this content that is uplifting for you, whether it be from my spiritual journey, the things that I'm teaching for mental wellness, or Miss Barkley's spiritual journey, or anybody else's spiritual journey, you take that with you and you rock with it. Just remember, the views and opinions of those on the Moment Moschetti podcast belong to those whose mouths it came out of. All right. So with that being said, you wanna, I don't know, tell us a little bit about yourself, give us a little bit of introduction, tell us who you is.
Um, so I am a mom of five. I think that's the first thing that I like to tell about people is that I'm a mother, because that's the biggest part of me. I am an entrepreneur. I own a business called Attracting Success LLC that I started in 2018, which is just a spiritual wellness gift shop. So you can buy things like crystals, sage, and things like that. I'm also a college student at Mount Mary University. I am studying psychology and communication. I'm also a fraud specialist at FIS, and that's just like a few things about me.
Okay.
And I'm also a content creator.
Awesome. So, like I said, Miss Barkley has a journey, a journey that she has been on. So where you and I cross paths is, as you guys know, currently I work as a therapist by profession. Prior to that, though, I spent many years in the foster care world, working with foster children and foster parents. And it was about a decade ago.
Yeah.
We crossed paths when you were a foster kid,
Yep.
about to age out of care. I was a foster care mentor,
Yes.
trying to help y'all age out of care and become
Productive adults.
productive members of society. And at the time, she was a teenagering. So we'll get a little bit into that. So I just wanted to, I guess, you share with the people a little bit about your foster care journey, about as much of it as you're comfortable, starting with, like, if you want to share how old you were when you got in care, or any circumstances around that, and just give us, some info about your journey.
Yes, definitely. So, I actually entered foster care at the age of 8, due to actually being abandoned by my mother. And I was living in Milwaukee. She had went to Atlanta, and I ended up staying with a cousin. I didn't enter foster care right then and there. It was kind of after a year of staying with my cousin. I was mentally, physically abused and things like that. And I finally, like, spoke out about it. I actually went to my oldest sister, Napresha Shannon, who actually helped me, get away from that situation with my cousin. And that's how I entered foster care because of the circumstances surrounding my first placement after my mother abandoned me.
Mhm.
So once I entered foster care, I went through a lot of assessment homes, group homes, foster homes. None really worked out. So it was kind of like being bounced around. I remember by the age of 16, I had been to about 20 different homes.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was a lot. I really couldn't, stay in one set home. It just didn't work out for me. But at the age of 16, I actually stumbled upon something that actually changed my life, which is called the law of attraction. When I started believing in the law of attraction, it actually showed me a side of life that I didn't know before then because I had a pretty miserable childhood, I would say.
You ain't got to put it in quotes.
Yeah.
You just told us
Definitely.
foster care. Your mom leaves you at 8. You're with your family. That's not working out. You're getting
Yeah.
abused there. You got to call on your sister to get you out.
Yep.
You bouncing around to 20 different
Yes.
foster homes
So
in
in
the
8 years,
span of 8 years. And you are, I guess this is a little miserable.
yeah.
I mean,
So that's yeah,
that's a lot.
definitely.
That's a lot.
So like I said, at the age of 16, I had bounced around from a few homes. At the moment, I was staying. Actually, I ran away for the first time because I was kind of fed up with life. So I ran away, and I found out about something called the law of attraction, which means like attracts like. Anything that you think of can come into existence, positive and negative. So that was kind of the turning point of my life when I started believing in that. And then I started thinking, like, you know what, my life don't have to be so bad. Maybe I can think a good life into existence. So that's kind of what I did. So like I said, at that time I was AWOL, so I was on the run kind of. I had called my my social worker, like, I'm ready to go back to school, I'm ready to get back on the path to, you know, get myself back in order. So that's when I entered a group home that I ended up staying for 2 years. At the age of 16, I moved out at 17 and a half. And that was just based off of me growing into something called independent living, because that's what the next stage that I was ready for. And that's when I met you, basically.
Mm-hmm. So let's go back a little bit, because
Okay.
I when I met you, you were all about the law of attraction,
Right. Okay.
but I didn't know how you got there.
Okay.
So you're AWOL,
Yes.
because everything is
Too much for me.
too much. It's
Yeah.
miserable. Things are not going in a positive direction. You've shared some of the stories of the things that had happened to you over the
Yes.
years.
Mhm.
So how did you find, or how did the law of attraction find you? How'd
Okay.
y'all find each other?
Yeah. So I was
Come
actually
to
at
the
a
microphone.
Okay. I was actually at a point in my life where I needed guidance. I did not, so I'm not a Christian, and I did not have a specific religion. So what I did at the time was I researched all different type of religions, because I'm like, I need to find my space in life because I don't have one. I did grow up. Well, I can't say that I grew up a Christian, but that's what was the right thing to be. But it just did not connect with me as much as it should have, I guess, at that moment. So what I did was, like I said, in the midst of researching different religions, I stumbled across something called The Secret. I'm like, what is The Secret? So at first I'm like, let me just watch this, which was a documentary on Netflix. Literally, this is how I started believing in the law of attraction
I've
off
seen
of a
The Secret.
documentary.
I've
Yeah.
seen The Secret,
So
though. It's really good.
It's amazing. So I watched this documentary, and it was like a light went off. Like I said, I was at a time in my life where I was trying to figure out what religion I wanted to be in, because I was like, hey, I can just pick one. I was 16 years old, and I wanted to find myself. And once I listened to The Secret, I was like, oh my God, like this is what I resonated with the most. And even though I wasn't considered a Christian, they still had faith-based things that went along with it. So um, when I started believing in The Secret, that's kind of where the law of attraction came about, where Bob Prackner, the person who created The Secret, kind of like, introduced me into a different life, which ended up changing my life. I think so.
Okay. So how did you use this information? Like, what How did it change your life? Because you said
Yes.
this is a point where things
Shifted.
shifted.
Okay. So, with the law of attraction, they do give you tools that you can use to actually create a better life for yourself. And one of the tools that resonated with me the most was visualization. So, they basically said that you can visualize the goals and aspirations that you want to achieve and that they will come, not based off of that. Basically, just based off of you having faith in yourself and just knowing that in the end that this will work out for you. So I started taking those visualization sessions to the next level.
Mhm.
Once I entered my last group home that I stayed at for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, I started doing something called visualization sessions where I would go in my room every day because I was at a point where I did not want to live in a group home anymore. I'm like, I've been here for so long. Even though I just turned 17, I am ready to, leave. I had my own job. So, like I said, the visualization sessions was my way to go on to the next level of my life.
Mhm.
So when I started my visualization sessions, it took me. I basically wanted to visualize myself getting my own apartment, or moving into independent living because, like I said, that was the next step. And like I said, every day for about 5 minutes of my day, as soon as I wake up, I just sit in my bed and I will visualize me obtaining my own apartment, me walking into the doors and me smelling like the candles, just like basically feeling the feeling that I would feel once I moved into my apartment. I did that for about 2 months and I'm like, okay, this is not working. So I almost gave up. But I didn't. I kept my faith, and I just kept doing them. And then one day I woke up and my group home manager came to me like, we have a meeting, and like I said, at this point I was ready to give up, so I was like, I'm finna either leave this group home or y'all is going to help me get into independent living. Like I said, I had my own job. I was the only girl in the group home that was actually trying to better myself. Even though I had a rough path, I was still like, you know what, things can change. I understand that my life can be better. So like I said, she told me that I had a meeting, and that meeting was the first step of me entering independent living, which is where I met you.
Yeah. So just for clarity on the independent living program, so it is a program, or at least when I was working there at that time, it was a program that assisted foster children in aging out of care. So we would take foster kids in their last year or half year of being under 18, still technically under the care of the state, and we would set them up with apartments. We would fully furnish them, give them allowances, give them food stipends, basically take care of all the basic needs up until you age out of foster care, which would be the 18th birthday. Sometimes we would work with the state to get their foster care extended to 19 so that we could care for them even longer, which would make them still a dependent for an extra year. But for those who didn't really necessarily have the means to take care of themselves, because as you know, at 18, you could vote, but you ain't grown. Like, you go to army, but you're not grown yet. Y'all thought y'all was grown, but you're not quite always all the way ready to take care of yourself. So sometimes we would do that. For those who needed it, but really it was intended to be this middle ground stepping stone to help make sure that kids weren't just out here aging out of foster care with nowhere to go. So there's a couple of different directions that things could go when you turn 18 and you are in foster care. Sometimes people's families are cool with them coming back to the house. They just don't want them people on in their business. And sometimes the family isn't stable, or you don't want to have nothing to do with them and they don't want to have nothing to do with you. So uh kids have gotten like dropped off by their group homes at homeless shelters and have like had to leave their foster home placements because now you have an additional adult in the house, and if the license doesn't cover that extra adult in the house, then they risk losing their foster care license, and if they got other kids in the house, like, that's a problem. So there's been a lot of like sticky situations that former foster kids get in when they turn 18 and they literally have nowhere to go. So we crossed paths when I was a mentor in that program. We worked together when I was a mentor in that program. You always had this drive in you from when I met you, because she came into the program. You came into the program younger than what we normally take.
Yes, definitely. Yes. And that made me proud too because they did tell me that you had to be 17 and a half. I was 17 in 2 months. So basically, I was 17 for 2 months and I had my own job. And they was just telling me how, that I deserved to be there, and I really did feel that way when I entered the program.
Yeah. So, um, if you don't mind sharing a little bit more about your experience in foster care prior to us getting to that point, because by the time you're in independent living, like you got your own apartment, nobody is. We got an 11 o'clock curfew, but up until then, nobody is really ruling over your life all day long. Like I'm checking to see if you're in school and stuff, but like I'm not waking you up. I'm not making you shower. I'm not making you do chores. I am making you do chores, but like
You were definitely a
I come
mama.
I come over. But I still come over like two, 3 times a week max. I'm not on top of you like group home staff would be, or the way that a foster home would be. So I guess if you don't mind sharing your lowlights of being in foster care, like an experience that you thought was great and one that was not so great.
Yes. Whew, wow. I was in foster care for a very long time, so I think 11 years total. I think that the lowest I felt was when I first entered foster care because of the conditions that I was in. I was like frail, probably 80 pounds, because I was being starved and abused and things like that. And once I entered foster care, I believe that it was really rough for me because I went against everybody who came in contact with me because I was so traumatized, and I just did not think that I was ever going to find a home. So I honestly think my first 8 years in foster care was horrible, because like I said, I was bounced around. I didn't have a word. I had a guardian enlightenment who actually was like, this is what's best for you. I didn't have the input.
Okay.
It was very hard. And even after the 8 years, when I turned 16 and I started believing in law of attraction, when I went to that last group home, I had group home managers who were working against me, who I guess I was maybe just a smart, I just did too much. Like I was being a teenager, rebellious, and they made it hard for me. So it was really rough in foster care up until I met you. I would say that, because like I said, I had people who were supposed to take care of me who like used to work with the girls to hide my ties and things like that. So I had a very rough in foster care. But once I did, go into independent living, I was able to meet people who actually cared about me like you. And it felt amazing. So like I said, my journey in foster care was very rough. I never felt like I had a voice. I was beat, abused, and starved, and it was rough. I moved from house to house. So yeah, it was kind of, like I said, it was rough.
Yeah.
Definitely my first 8 years for sure.
The first 8 years.
The first 8 years.
That's
yes.
a long time for a little kid.
Yes.
You said guardian ad litem. For those who don't know, that is like a person through the courts that is specifically appointed to the children who are supposed to be acting as a voice for the children and acting in their best interest. So that person technically should be speaking to you as a kid, even if you're just 10, 11, 12 years old, especially if you're into your teenage years, because by then you have a little bit more problem solving skills and a little bit more cognitive capability to see what's going on, unlike when you're 4, but you still get a guardian ad litem even if you are like 2. So that person specifically should be listening for you and advocating for you in the courts, and that person even just told you about what you needed and didn't listen.
Didn't listen at all. And I had a pretty rough relationship with my parents also. That relationship grew with them, but I was very, I feel like as a child, I accepted a lot of the things that I went through, the abandonment, um, the emotional and mental abuse that I experienced from my stepmother. It was a lot for me to process. So I grew up a very angry woman, even into, having my children. I really had a lot of trauma that I did not confront, that I just let go because as a child, I'm like, hey, this is what I was, the life that I was handed to me. So as an adult, when I started having children, I had to sit back and be like, okay, why are you so angry? And I was really angry because of all the trauma that I let go, and I let the people who were in my life now who hurt me, I let them in my life so easy because I accepted that. So like I said, once I had my third kid, I just like went through a series of depression where I just like cut all my family off because I'm like, y'all was wrong. Even though this happened a long time ago, you guys were wrong. So like I said, for like 2 years, I didn't talk to my parents. I lashed out on Facebook a lot, which I know I shouldn't have, but that was my voice. That's where I just like, this is unfair. I was abused and nobody cared. And now that I'm an adult and I'm doing okay in life, y'all think that y'all can just be a part of this and not, actually care about who, because I'm still the same woman. I feel like, apology needs to be stated, which I never got. So what I did was, after 2 years of being angry at my parents, my mom and my dad, and a lot of other family members that had a lot to do with the reason why I entered foster care, that's where my relationship with God came into place. Because like I said, I was never a Christian. I never classified as a Christian. So I kind of wanted to embrace that new journey for myself. So I started listening to Christian music, which was something I never did, but I needed to touch bases with something else.
You wanted to
because
be connected with something.
Yes, because the law of attraction was what was getting me through life, but I needed something deeper because I knew that it was a higher power. I had a lot of miracles happen in my life. And one of them was the transition that I went through with my parents, and understanding that, what, this is not okay, but I do have to forgive y'all for myself, because I won't get that apology. So like I said, after 2 years, I started gaining my faith in God, and that kind of drove me to forgiveness. The forgiveness that I had to forgive them without an apology. So like I said, I did that, and I started growing a better relationship with my mother and my father. My mother kind of told me her story, which kind of made me think, like, you know what? I'm so sorry for actually putting so much pressure on you. You get what I'm saying? Like, for not understanding her point of view and everything, So now that me and my mother have actually talked about her past and her trauma, I'm like, wow, she's so strong. I actually felt like she was weak for leaving, but no, you were actually strong for getting away, because, she was running away from something, which I understand now. So I have a lot of respect for my mother.
So in her abandoning you, it was her trying to escape a
Yes.
bad situation on her own, and she felt like leaving you behind was just one of the ways that she had to do that.
The best thing that she could do for me, which turned out to be the best thing, because throughout foster care, I became an amazing woman. I was able to meet women like you, who inspired me to be the woman I am today. I really thank my mom for making the executive decision to, want a better life for me, and at the moment, I know she didn't understand it, but now my mom is my number one fan and I love her so much. But like, I really do appreciate her for sharing her journey with me, because now I understand so much about my childhood and about my life now, and now I can be a better parent because I'm not so angry as I used to be. So that's kind of where fosterhood led me to, like, regaining my faith in God, and just like understanding, because understanding others is a big part of my growth. So yeah.
Man, I've said on previous episodes that one of the biggest pieces of a couple of big pieces of my healing journey have also come through just talking to my parents about like what happened in my upbringing, and them acknowledging like, yeah, that happened, and also sharing and coming to understand their parts of the story. I tell people all the time, like, when I go back in my memories and I think about my parents had me young. I pretty much forgive them for everything they did before they was 25.
Okay, seriously. No, seriously.
Because we're young and dumb and really just figuring out life. And then if you think about whatever it is that they had to come through in that time, like my mom lost her mom before she was 20. My mom lost her mom when she was 20. My dad lost his dad when he was 21. Wow. And so both of them are trying to walk around here, like I said, 18, 19, 20, you can vote and you can go to the army, but you ain't grown. You don't really know nothing about. I don't consider people grown till they've been paying their own rent by themselves for at least 3 years.
I just got grown.
Just got grown. That's why we can sit down and have this conversation, because you're grown now.
I'm grown now. For
You
real.
can pay bills. You got all the kids. You grown now. But like, you don't really know what it's like to really have to like struggle to take care of yourself, take care of these kids, until you've been doing it for that first year is cute, but then the year after that it get hard, and then the year after that you really in it, and then you look forward. You're like, I gotta do this for the rest of my life. You got kids in tow. You got your own mental health. You got however your parents brought you up. So there's a whole bunch of liberation that can be understood. And in your case, you're like, now I understand. I'm this angry kid who's abandoned, but now I'm this enlightened woman who understands that in the grand scheme of things, mom had to go. Because what would have been the situation that y'all have been in if she would have stayed?
Exactly. And I think about that a lot. I tell her now, like, girl, your decision was your decision. And look at me now. I'm a 4.0 college student, and she loves
Hold
that
on.
about. And she loves that about me. And I do everything that I do just so I can make my mom proud. Like I have
Mhm.
no ill feelings about my mother or my father, but yeah. So like I said, me forgiving them actually made me into the woman I am now. Even though I had a rough childhood, that definitely doesn't define the woman that I am. Like I went through a lot of rough things, but I used that as an anchor to be an inspiration for others
Mhm.
because foster care children, they are looked at as you are not going to make it in life. Like
Mhm.
that's the statistics of it.
And when I first
um
started working with foster kids, all I got all the time was, "Are they bad?" And I'm like,
we
"They
are.
kids."
Yes,
Like, y'all are kids. Y'all do
definitely.
stuff that kids do.
Definitely. So I really feel like that just not letting your past, affect because even if you're going through a lot now, your current circumstances will not last forever. So I
Mhm.
keep that as the basis to just keep moving forward through whatever that I go through.
Mhm. And your dad, did you have any type of like reconciling conversations with him, or were you guys with your relationship? If you don't mind
Um,
sharing.
so no, we never had like a conversation about how I felt or anything like that. But what happened was because my dad, he's a pretty unemotional person. He's pretty like he doesn't show his emotions. I never really seen my dad show his emotions. But one thing that we did do in the journey of me like forgiving him in my own way was we actually started having more times where I'll go to his house and we'd like have a shot together or something like that. So that was my way to connect with my dad where like I said, I would just go over there with him just to show him like, I love you and I care about you and stuff like that. So I tried to build a relationship with him, but it never really,
Curled around quite the same as
yeah,
mom.
definitely didn't.
But in your heart space though, you kind of
Yes,
let that go.
definitely. I kind of learned a lot of stuff about him, which is like why I am the way that I am, like how smart he is. He's very like just the persona that he has. I think I get my persona from him. Like he loves Eminem, and I used to be so mad when he used to turn them on. Like, Dad, why are you listening to him? But now I'm actually a number one Eminem fan, like because of my dad.
Wow.
Like I love Eminem, and a lot of, like I said, a lot of the qualities that I have, I get them from my father.
Mm.
So like I said, even though we were not able to touch bases like me and my mother, we still have that. You good with me, Dad? Like
So you
for real.
understand yourself better because you
Yeah.
understand him.
Yes, and that was a big part of me being able to move forward. Was just like I said, understanding myself, understanding him, and it made me just all right with our situation for sure.
Man, that's that, man. One of the first things that they told us when I started working with foster kids is be careful how you speak about their parents. Be careful how you speak about their parents because it's so easy. Like it's be careful about how you speak about their parents even when y'all speak crazy about your parents, which it is real easy. And when you become the caregiver of somebody, when they start ragging on their parents, for you to kind of join the party, especially when you're the one that's like, I'm taking care of you.
Yes.
but but we were told specifically, like, be careful with that type of stuff. And this is the reason why, like, people, just because you
Yes.
were in this sticky situation with your parents doesn't mean that your parents weren't doing their best,
Right.
doesn't mean that your parents don't actually love you, doesn't mean that you don't still have a deep love and a desire to reconcile with your parents. It just means that this is just a bad situation
Mhm.
and we don't really know where this is all going, but they're not in a position to care for you. Now some people, I said be not say not don't say nothing mean about people's parents. Okay. Some people's parents. If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
Exactly.
but but for the majority of the foster kids though, you guys still, even if it was a bad situation, there's a lot of you guys who still want to go home because those are your parents, is where you came from. And so like, you don't speak ill on people's parents because you don't know where their heart is when it comes to their parents. You don't want to be part of the reason why they later on have more ammunition to not reconcile with their parents, or even they might genuinely miss their people while they in care. You just was ragging on them a week ago, and that's just not your place to do it. It's not your place to
Definitely.
do it as a worker. So they warned us against that. And as you see, foster children still have a love and a care for their parents, still have a desire for reconciliation, even
Hmm.
if abandoned, even if abused, because we all have a right to know where we came from
Hmm.
and have that type of reflection within ourselves so we can understand ourselves better despite the circumstances. So, oh wow, phone, wow. That's how you feel? Was I droning on too long with my point? Wow. But all right. So with that being said, I would like to hear a little bit more of your motherhood journey, because that's how do you grow up with no parents and then become an effective parent? Because
So
I know, like you always say that I influenced you really well. All I did was come in and be nice.
girl, let's
That's
not
all
do
I
that.
tried to
You
do.
came
All
in
I
and you
did,
saved my life.
all I
Seriously.
did was try to be nice and show you ain't got to fight everybody who you got a disagreement with, and
Right.
bring you like laundry soap. But
Oh, you did way more than that. You actually taught me how to be a dog. You taught me how to cook. Okay.
I
You
did.
taught me a lot of
Don't cook nothing
things.
nasty and then tell people that I taught you how to cook.
Okay. Uh, but I think that the biggest motivation that I had to become a great mother was just basically because of my childhood. I can't remember a happy moment that I spent in my childhood. I
Mhm.
can't remember moments where um, I seen my parents smile because of me,
Mhm.
and I I don't remember um, just having a relationship with either one of my parents at all. Not a healthy relationship at that. Not at all. So with my oldest son, I had him for 2 years before I had any other children. And what I did with him was I talked to him a lot, even as a baby, because I wanted to understand my child because nobody took the time to understand me,
Mhm.
nobody at all. So I wanted from a young age for him to know like you matter, your opinion matters, and even if we just talking in baby talk, I still want to let you know that because that's just how I grew up. So me and my oldest son, we are very close. He talks a lot, and it might be because of
Right,
how
because
much.
you was talking to him all the time when he was
Yes,
couldn't talk.
literally, like he'd go with his grandma, and he'd come back at like 1 years old, and I just like, how was your day? He, you know what I'm saying? So he grew up to be a very strong oldest brother. So
Mhm.
and then I do have four other children. I have five in total. So by the time I had my second daughter, I mean, my second child, which came to be a daughter, I kind of got scared because I'm like, I'm not a woman. I don't know. Well, I am a woman, but I'm not girly at all. How am I supposed to teach her how to be a girl, a woman? Like, so that scared me a lot. So like I said, that's kind of where I think that my issues with my parents started to arise because by
Mhm.
the time that I had my third kid, that's kind of when I just withdrew from the world.
Mhm.
So like I said, I kind of worked more on me internally to understand what type of mother that I wanted to be, understand my journey as a mother too. So I think that when I took that time to understand me, that's when I came back to be mad at my parents, and then after about 2 years, I was back in grace with them. So I think that helped me become a stronger mother within itself because,
Mhm.
like I said, I was struggling with my three children at that time because, like I said, I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of anger built up. And a big part of me becoming a stronger woman was basically facing my childhood and facing the problems that I had with my parents.
Mhm.
And like I said, after that, after I had my fourth child, and my relationship with my parents got better, I think that I became a stronger mom because I was ready to let my children have relationships with their grandparents.
Okay.
I was open to you know improving on being a mother because I'm not always right. Looking at the decisions that my parents made me like, you know what, maybe I do need to do this differently because even though I started off strong, it got harder as I had more children. So, like I said, after my fourth child, I think that I became like, okay, I got this in the bag.
Okay.
The first three children was very hard. It was a struggle for me. But now with five kids, we on a routine. We wake up every day at the same time. I get them together. Their dad is a very big part of our life. So it's kind of just like, we are. My motherhood journey has definitely improved over the last 7 years.
Mhm.
And right now, with five children, I feel more confident than I was with three children.
Mm, okay.
So I think it got better with time.
Okay. Okay. And you pointed out something that I really try to stress on this channel too is generational wealth, generational healing, breaking generational curses. Because I don't know what got your mom to the point where she was when she had you, when she left you, or whatever. But that doesn't just come out of nowhere.
Right.
Like some of that came out of her upbringing and
Mhm.
how she was raised and how she was cared for and nurtured, and led into her inability to care for and nurture you.
Yes.
And we all have the option to just continue on with that same behavior
Yes.
that was taught to us. Like that is the things that we're given as we learn through this life, from honestly from in the womb all the way up, is all data about what we learn, is all data of how the world operates. And so you're like, I'm left, I'm gonna go bouncing around foster homes. I'm finally in this spot with this lady who's being nice to me, finally. And now I got a kid, and now I'm out, and now I got another kid, and now I got another kid.
Yes.
But you had a specific determination in that story to you didn't have a voice.
Nope.
So the first thing that you did with your child was give them a voice.
Yes.
That's how we break generational curses right there. Because it's very easy to just be like, to just shut the kid up.
Mhm.
Especially you say he talk a lot.
He talk a lot.
And you talk a lot, but it's so easy to shut somebody up when they talk a lot.
Okay.
But I could always see you trying to find your voice though too.
Mhm.
Because whenever there was an injustice, at least in my presence, Miss Barkley was gonna tell you about the injustice and how it needs to be corrected, and I'd be right there like, you are right, you are correct. I need you to be correct at a lower volume with less aggression.
Definitely.
But I also understood that you never really had anybody fighting for you. And so when I stepped in and started fighting for you in some of these situations, like, you don't have to have a voice. Like, I actually, like, I'm going to use my name badge, my title, and my voice to make sure that you don't actually have to have a voice. But you got one with me.
Definitely.
And I don't know if that helped in you helping your children find voices, but I know that, identifying that what you lacked in your life and then being determined and intentional about giving that to your children, that's generational wealth. Because that oldest one ain't never gonna let nobody tell him what's what without putting his 2 cents in it.
Telling you, I'm serious. He can make up a dream out of nowhere. Like, what, Tony? So yes.
But that's a beautiful thing that you gave him that gift, something that wasn't given to you, something that you had to fight to get, that you just gave to him even before he was able to form language.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And then the healing that you had to do in order to so you was angry. You started having babies, got angry some more.
Yeah. Yep. Because I wasn't that angry at first. When I first had my first child, I wasn't angry. I was like, I got this. But as it grew, I'm like, hold on. Like, wait, the troubles and, like I said, my past trauma started to come up again.
So what was you angry about?
I was angry about, I can actually remember the time where I really got angry. So the person who put me in foster care, which was my cousin, it was her birthday. And my family started to call me like, ooh, telling me that it was her birthday. Actually, not only was it her birthday, but she had fell ill.
Okay.
She fell ill. That's actually what happened. And
like she was ill.
Yeah, like she had went blind. So this is God don't play about his children, okay?
And don't.
So she had ended up like going blind a little bit and was having a lot of health problems. And they called me and they was telling me, and I'm like, why y'all calling me and telling me? Like, so y'all want me to feel bad or what? So I got angry because they were angry with me. Like, they were angry that I was still holding on to the hurt. my family, and including my parents, you know what I'm saying? Like,
they wanted you to just let it go.
Yeah, and I'm like, no. So once that happened, I really got angry. Like, I had, like I said, I had 3 kids at the time and I shut everybody out because I'm like, I'm not forgiving this person, and I'm not going to say you deserve it because I was never a type of person you deserve any type of cruelty to your life. But at the end of the day, you will not have good karma treating children the way that you treat them, especially when they don't have any power over the situation. So
Like, so she had you in a bad situation.
Horrible situation.
No apology.
No apology.
Just you ended up in foster care.
Yes.
Time has gone by. She's sick now, and everybody want you. Everybody want you
Me. And I'm like, why y'all calling me?
to go be
Yes,
nice.
to be nice, because I was always, like I said, a forgiving person.
Mhm.
The people who were calling me knew me to be okay with my past. So
Mhm.
that's where the turning point went.
Mhm.
I'm not okay with this. Actually,
You had to accept
now,
that you weren't okay with it.
yes, because for so long I had accepted it. So like I said, and over the years I do forgive her.
I mean, we can lie to ourselves though.
Yeah.
We can lie to ourselves. We can want ourselves to be okay with
Yeah.
something so bad or over something so bad
Mhm.
that we ignore the fact that we're not actually okay until something like this pops
Yes,
up.
and it ruffled my feathers like a lot. Like I said, for 2 years, I had just was like, I'm done with y'all, because if y'all think this is okay, and if y'all not gonna apologize, because I deserve an apology,
Yeah, you do.
So like I said, that right there just like turned me upside down, and I just, like I said, I lashed out. Like I said, I was mad at everybody at that point, because not only was I beat, I was starved, I was abused for no reason, other than she was on drugs. That's not a reason. Y'all want me to forgive her, and not only that, y'all actually hurt me too. You know what I'm saying? Y'all lied to me too. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all was a part of this whole scheme of me having such a horrible life, but I forgave y'all. But that does not mean that y'all actions are okay.
Mm-hmm.
So once I entered that point in my life, like I said, I shut down for 2 years. And then after 2 years of no apologies, of F you, Isha, I was just like, you know what, y'all good. Like I said, I started praying. I started listening to gospel music. I got closer with God, and I started to understand that, you know what, this anger ain't gonna do nothing but make my life harder.
You're gonna get yourself sick.
Sick. Yeah, really, seriously. So, like I said, I forgave them, and I slowly started to rebuild the relationship with my mother. In a way, me and my father got back okay, and things just progressed from there. But it definitely, that was the turning point. Just people just automatically thinking that I was supposed to be forgiven, but inside of that, I also understand that other people are not, as you know what I'm saying, they not as apologetic as they should be. So I understood something about humans. Like, you know what?
But
We are all human.
yeah, but you know what though? That was part of your growth journey.
Mhm.
That was part of your growth journey. You had to be put in a position where you accepted what was really in front of you.
Yes.
I think you wasn't mad enough. And you had to
I
be
was
pushed
not
to be
mad
mad
enough.
enough so that you
Yes.
could really feel the feelings and really address the feelings and really process the feelings and really gain an actual understanding of what forgiveness means, because
Yes.
we don't always get no apology in the spaces in which we're commanded to forgive. And I follow a couple of folks who don't really always believe in forgiving.
Mm-hmm.
um but even those who don't always believe in forgiving everybody still believe in finding your inner peace within those
Definitely.
situations,
Yes.
because even if you are having a hard time forgiving your abuser because they abused you,
Right.
let's not forget that part. We talk about forgiveness, but we're not talking about what the infraction was. This person abused you, so you might still have feelings behind that, but ultimately the end goal behind that is to find yourself a place of peace, to where regardless of what they've done to you, you're unaffected,
Definitely.
and that you're not passing that poison on to other people. It's so easy to pass that poison on.
Yes, especially to your children.
And then you
Definitely.
said after all of that healing that you now your children are able to have a better relationship with their grandparents.
Definitely.
And I mean, do you have a relationship with your grandparents?
Um, I don't.
So another generational
I don't.
curse and more generational wealth that's being able to
Definitely.
pass down. Now we are in a position where we're getting to know ourselves even deeper, because we get a chance to see two generations back instead of just one.
Yes.
And so there's beauty even in that. Now you have a family instead of just this fractured thing, but you had to
Definitely.
heal for real. You had to
Definitely.
heal for real.
For real.
And the real healing were hurt. It
It hurts
hurt.
so bad.
Like physically. Like we be talking about emotions, but like a heartbreak really be feeling like somebody snatched
Yes.
your blood pumper out your chest, kicked it around like a soccer ball, and then gave it back to you like here, sight,
Right.
here, sight. You when you're hurt by people who are supposed to love you, like you feel that in your gut. Like you can, when you cry hard enough, like You get a headache. You feel that.
Definitely.
And so, but when you're healing, sometimes you got to go through all of those phases
Yes.
so you can get to the other side. And then sometimes you just got to live a little life to see where God was taking all of this.
Definitely.
Cause this is, look, I'm gonna tell the people the job I had before I came and worked and met you, work it changed, came over to the foster care world and met you. I hated it, and I didn't want to do it no more. And they ended up firing me, and I was sad for like a couple hours. Because I just lost my job, my good paying job. But God has something else for me to do and
Yes.
somewhere else for me to be. And I was no good use to people in the position that I was before. I wasn't impacting lives. I wasn't being a kind, caring, hearing person that a foster care kid needed. I was something else that ain't nobody need me. Ain't nobody need me doing what I was doing before. And so I'm not knowing what God was doing in that moment. I was just like, I ain't got no job. But I found a fantastic job after that,
Yes.
one that actually spoke to my heart and one that spoke to my passions. And one that actually helped me impact people in a real kind of way. I minimize what I was doing, like, man,
You really
I was
do.
just running y'all around. But really, the reason why I even stayed within the helping for professions was everybody in those spaces aren't honorable. Everybody in those spaces aren't honorable. I'm not crying. My nose running. I could have faked like I was crying, but I always said I was coming with the realness. So if y'all saw that dripping down my nose, I apologize. I tried to hide behind the mic. It wasn't working. But anyways, everybody in those positions aren't honorable. We hear horror stories about kids being removed from their homes just to end up in a foster home that's worse than the one that they came from. Or foster parents, even when they are good, being a little bit too possessive of the children and acting like them as they kids, and that they don't actually have parents. And so I really wanted to be a well-informed person in that space, a person who, if I was the first nice person that you ever came across in foster care, then I wanted you to at least come across one nice person while you was in foster care. And so that's just my heart. That's just my heart. And I guess I minimize it because because I really want or that to come from me authentically, but I would like for it to come from other people authentically. It's not that big of a deal to be nice.
No, you were amazing. You taught me a lot of different life skills. Like I said, not only how to cook, how to grocery shop, a lot of that stuff that we supposed to learn from our parents. Foster care kids don't get. So
Mhm.
when we are in these group homes and we not going, when people don't get that same experience as I got with independent living, we are literally, like you said, we getting let off at homeless shelters or just getting let off at 18 because and a lot of people do not have those basic
Right.
life skills. So
Don't know how
please
to
do not
don't know how
undermine
to
your
cook,
time.
don't know how to do laundry, don't know how to do a lot
uh,
of
I didn't know how to do laundry. Like you taught me how to separate my clothes. Like all of that stuff, like really mattered. Like you taught me how to, I never had a problem with like keeping my space clean, but you made sure that you stayed on me about that because I'm a woman. You taught me a lot of stuff that I would not have got. If I would not have entered that program. So I do appreciate you. And I do know it was a lot of workers who did not care because I knew other people that was in the independent living program that did not get the same treatment that I got. So I was blessed to have you. Like, I think God just knew like she needs some extra care. Let me give her hers. Like, period. Because you were like a blessing for me, like tremendously.
Well, I mean,
Seriously.
that goes back out to your law of attraction. You had something
Right.
specific that you wanted, and
Hmm.
you put that petition out there, and God gave it right back to you. I mean, like, because when I hear law of attraction, and you just taking this to the top of the show, you putting out what
Hmm.
you want to get back, like that to me is
Definitely.
the same principle as you reap what you sow. Like
Definitely karma.
it's the same principles as karma. It's the same principles as prayer.
Yes.
You want God to bless you in a certain way, you put that prayer out there and
Yeah.
you watch him work. Like
Hmm.
sometimes it take a little time.
Yes, it is.
I always say the bigger thing you want, the longer you're gonna have to wait for it to cook up, because God is like, you want that, okay, let
Make sure you're
me
ready for it.
I and he'll get you ready for it
Yes.
if you follow along the path. But sometimes we put things out there and then we want to fight and scrape to either get it our own way or to be impatient about how we gonna get it.
Yes.
And God be like, that's not even how I want you to have that. If you don't, if you don't sit down somewhere. So what y'all don't know is like the arrangement of this table right now is not the way it was when we first came in this room. My wonderful producer Tone was like, I was like not satisfied with how it was set up, and he was like, move. I moved all this around so it could be perfect. That's how God be doing. He be like, move. Move everything around. So this is what you want. This is what you need. All right, I give it for you. But sometimes you gotta wait. Sometimes you gotta move.
Definitely.
And then sometimes you gotta work. And then he puts you in a position that you want to be, if it's gonna be good for you. If it ain't gonna be no good for you, he ain't gonna give it to you.
Period.
Because why would he give you something that's gonna be destructive? That don't even make no sense. You'll destroy yourself in 2 days. Yes. But you know, that's quite the incredible journey, and I'm very glad that you found God, because I know that was a point of contention. Well, not contention, but that was a point of you were still lost on that subject when I first met you.
It was I think that my religion was like one of the hardest aspects of my life, because people, like when I first started believing in the law of attraction, my family was like, you are a devil. Like, what are you doing meditating? You know what I'm saying? Like, that was just not a part of what people did. You know what I'm saying? Like, believing in the law of attraction, it made people think that I was like dishonoring God, but I wasn't. It was just my own way of, becoming myself, So it took me a long time to even accept that part of me, that I did have a different belief than people, because I, demised that belief so much because I wanted to be like everybody else. I wanted to be a Christian. I wanted to say God instead of the universe, even though I knew what I truly believed in. But because I wanted to, be liked in the eyes of others, like I kept that side away from me. But now it's kind of like, y'all gonna have to accept me and accept what I believe in, because what I believe in is the same as you. It's just in different contexts. If you don't understand my beliefs, then that's okay. But I understand yours. I accept yours, and it's yours for you, just like mine are for me. So now, I do classify as somebody who is free of religion, but I do have God. I do know that there is a bigger purpose, and if miracles go through God, I have a lot of different miracles that happen in my life, and I know that those miracles are not just because of me, they are because of God. But people have to understand that I am not a Christian, and I do not classify with a religion, but that just also comes with respecting the person for who they are. So yeah, I stand up strong in my power now, and I stand strong within my beliefs, and I am proud of the journey that I've had with religion, because like I said, that has showed me that I can't be different. I am unique, and that does not make me weird. It just makes me different, and it's okay to be different.
It got you on your own journey.
Yes, for sure.
So before we close out, I don't know, it won't go nowhere. Do you care to share a miracle that you've seen?
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. A miracle? Yes, I've literally lost the house and literally went to a hotel before with my children and got a house the next day. Miracles. Something that I never thought, like, I'm going to be homeless, but God provided me with a house the next day.
The next day,
I was in a hotel. I was in a U-Haul with all of my stuff, with my children. And the next day I got a text like, you know what, you're approved. Just give me, you know what I'm saying? And I did. And I'm like, you know what? If this ain't a miracle, God is good. Okay.
God is amazing.
That's just one of the many miracles that resonate with me. Like, and I'm talking about miracles, things that you just don't know is possible until it happens. So yeah.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Yes, like you can never forget that. I will never forget that.
That's one of them. You go to bed like, Lord,
please help me.
I don't know how this gonna work, but I'm gonna put it in your hands. Ding, text message. Wait, let's stop playing.
And that right there will create unwavering faith. Situations like that will make you think, you know what, I don't need nobody but God. And that right there, that happened like 3 or 4 years ago, and been strong ever since then. Miracles are powerful, and they do happen, and they will not happen unless you do have God. You know what I'm saying? Unless you do understand that it is a higher power. Oh yes, definitely. I believe in miracles.
That's beautiful. Sure. That's beautiful. You got any other testimonials you got in you?
I have a lot, but for sure, I do. I have a lot, but that is the biggest miracle that I've seen.
That's the biggest one. That's the biggest one. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. But you know what? We've been sitting here chit chatting for Almost
Oh my
almost an
God.
hour,
I
yeah.
didn't even notice the
I told you we was
time.
gonna rock out an hour with no problem.
For sure.
But and I think we're gonna go ahead and leave it off on that miracle, because that's a beautiful and that's a powerful
Yeah,
testimony.
it
And
is
look,
definitely.
and like I said, things the guests that I have are, we're gonna have some points in which we come together. We're gonna have some points in which we differ. Y'all know I'm a Christian. I like Jesus. That's my
Period.
homie. And but there's beauty and there's love and there's respect for those who are following their paths, who are finding their joys, who wish goodwill for others, and who just want to prosper in their own lives. Like, who am I to say that you wrong? We all just trying to figure this thing out.
Period.
So with that being said, if you don't mind, I always end every episode out. We pray it out. And then that'll be that. So you know how my
Definitely. My head's kind of sweaty. I'm
it's all
sorry.
right. It's all right. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day. I thank you for this opportunity to connect with Miss Barkley. I thank you for the stories and the beauty that has come out of this conversation. I just ask that you carry it with everyone who will resonate with. May it be enlightening, may it be encouraging, may it be uplifting to those who are in difficult situations, that they too can have hope, they too can have prosperity, they too can see miracles, they too can connect with their wildest dreams. Thank God and amen.
Amen.
All right.